Actually, if I could ask Mr. Kramer first.
Okay.
I guess I would like to say there's not an average. Each time I go into vehicle maintenance, I see anywhere from an intake manifold torn off a vehicle, which I know full well has taken a good half a day just to remove all the bracketry to get that manifold where they get it off to replace the gasket that they're working on. Those are the types of projects that I see go on every day. From time to time, I see a small weed whip from street department perhaps in there, which I know isn't going to take more than 15 minutes to a half hour to repair. But for the most part, each of those bays, 5 bays in Public Works, are filled with a vehicle each and every day. Now, whether they sit there for a day and a half because they're waiting on parts, or they sit there because they're there a day and a half because they're being worked on 12 hours, it's a rather long project. So I don't know if I could give an exact answer on how long an average project takes. So I apologize for that.
No, there's nothing to apologize, but this is correct where it says it's only 49 work orders per month?
On
On
average,
average?
correct. In the high, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 151 in January. The slow time, we might not have any true work orders, but that doesn't mean that we won't have preventative maintenance schedules that don't fall above and beyond that. That wouldn't be a work order. Preventative maintenance would be based on vehicle mileage, the last time the garage saw it. So these are just true service orders either put in by the 5 divisions, police department, community development, admin, whoever has vehicles.
Mr. Knight.
Yeah, don't get too hung up on this 49 work order thing. Any successful company that has a fleet does the preventive maintenance. If we're not doing it now, we really should get into it. And the additional person, I believe, could at least get us started on it. If not, provide for a complete preventive maintenance. All your big companies, your UPS, your Federal Express, all your big fleets, they keep their trucks on the road and productive because they do the preventive maintenance. And that requires mechanics. We used to have mechanic day and night. Daytime, we'd have 2 of them. One do preventive maintenance, one would do emergency repairs. In the evening, another one would do preventive maintenance and that. I mean, it's not that much. We've already cut out, 100 and so many thousand, what are we up to, 160,000 or something in cuts? I think this is a very necessary position, and I really think we should fill it.
Well, let me ask Mr. Coles. I was trying to do that.
Okay.
Three mechanics
all right.
mechanics in private industry, how many work orders should they do a month?
Oh, it varies. It depends upon how fast the man is. It depends upon what he's got to do. A good preventive maintenance will take now we're not talking about Jiffy Lube or any of them lube places where you drive in and they drop the oil, they might not put the plug back in, or they don't put the filter right. Excuse me, but you don't have that 10, 15-minute job. I change oil on a car. It takes me to change oil and check the car underneath. It takes me approximately two hours to just change the oil and filter because I examine the car underneath. That's the only time a car is examined is when it's on the hoist. The guys at Jiffy Lube are in pits and they can't do nothing. They can't even grease the car right. All right? A good preventive maintenance job will probably take approximately between 2 to 3.5 hours to do a job and do it right. Now, to do a brake job on a car, it depends if you're doing just the front ones or all of them around. And then you start talking 4.5, maybe 5 hours, a proper job. So you can't go by how many that it does. I mean, in one day I do only 2 cars a day. That's all I plan for. So that's as much as, and some of the jobs are fast and some are slow. Now, if a guy's changing 4 tires, by the time he gets the 4 tires off, pulls the tires off, puts the new tires on, rebalances them, and put them back on, one man, it'll probably take him a good 4 hours. just to put on 4 tires, even though he has a machine. So, I mean, you can't figure that. You can't figure. And then, if you've got a job like tuning up or taking an alternator off, sometimes an alternator takes you 3 hours to get, because they bury them down underneath the car and you can't even see them from the top. So, and you have to take, sometimes, I had to take a pulley, a flywheel pulley off of a car in order to get an alternator off of a Ford product. So, I mean, this is, you can't figure, one car a day. You gotta figure that the guy is gonna probably work on 3 cars each day, if he's, so,
I think you made my point. Thank you.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Alderman Newshill.
I understand about the preventative maintenance, but I have to agree with Alderman Winger. These economic times, I mean, I have to be convinced that our guys are really that busy. I understand maybe in January, but come the next few months, are they just sitting around because we don't have that much? There's a few other factors going on here that I'm not convinced that we should put this position in yet.
Alderman Sharkey.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to go the other way when we're talking about an additional level of preventive maintenance. The more preventative maintenance, as Joe said, the better off we are. And we shouldn't really talk about the 49 average, because 84 in December, you need those trucks out there. If they're in the shop, we're not getting our streets cleaned and the snow taken off and the salt laid down. So if this gives us the ability to handle those 84 or the peaks in maintenance, and also at the same time the rest of the year increase the preventive maintenance, I think we're better off than having to buy a new truck or a new vehicle. So I would go along this time with the additional personnel.
Christine Winger.
Thank you. I feel this council supports opportunities to have efficiencies. We're looking at windows to try and replace them, to make it more thermal. And I know some of them are leaking, but to make efficiency better with the heating and cooling and that sort of thing. We're looking at potentially changing out 2 other vehicles to increase our repair efficiency. We do these things, so and I value that. However, we're talking about a human resource. We're talking about a person, bringing them on. When we bring someone on, we're looking at roughly $68,000 starting. We're looking at the salary, Medicare, FICA, IMRF, healthcare, and uniform. This is $68,000, and it's not just the person. It's, that person will have dependents. That person will have mouths to feed. I don't want to bring on a person and then have to let someone go a year later. This is not the time to be launching a new program of preventative maintenance. And I understand that the mechanics may be busy, and I'm not going to dispute that. But that's where you do the triage of what do we keep in-house and what do we send down the street to a mechanic where they have people waiting to work on cars. So I would say we hold off. It's not to say that we won't look at this next year. This just is not the time to do this program. Thank you.
Mr. Knight.
So you'd rather not employ a city employee, but you'd rather keep an outsourced person working by sending all our vehicles down there, possibly at a higher rate and keeping our vehicles out of service?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say that going into a union situation and looking at a whole new union contract, let's first see what that looks like before we do bring someone in. And I certainly don't want a third person. And then that person doesn't want to work on something 6 months into it because it's not in the contract. Let's keep it how it is, and then we can evaluate it in a year from now, 6 months from now.
Mr. Nuzio.
Alderman Knipe just brought up, outsourcing or sending it out, but we've never really heard this number of how much we paid to the outside mechanics. I mean, if you would have told me, hey, last year we spent $100,000 on these things, you know, I heard a number earlier, maybe 15,000. 15,000, 60,000. That's why I'm kind of not convinced here. But if the number would have came out and you said, you know, we spent 100,000 on these outsourced mechanics, okay, hey, we've got a savings here. But I didn't hear that number. I heard maybe 15,000. 15,000 is still cheaper than 69,000.
I believe Wally and Brad's trying to figure out that number right now. Am I right or no? Okay. I got a question. Mr. Nuzio.
Yeah, but when you're going through that, if that includes transmissions or something, we still have to send that out anyways. So, I mean, the number could be skewed that you're giving me because you're not taking that into consideration. Well, I want to hear the real number, not the number that's.
Why don't we take a recess for 10 minutes for they can figure that out?
Let me recap where we are in the general fund.
Okay.
That's the one that really is at the tip point. When we started this discussion 2 weeks ago, we had a budget surplus in the general fund of about $60,000. Since then, you've taken out of the budget the downtown development study for $100,000. You've taken out the street supervisor for a ballpark 80,000, and that number has to be confirmed, but let's just say ballpark 80,000. And you've added back in diagnostic equipment at $10,000. So your $60,000 surplus is now increased by about 170,000. So at the end of the night, if you don't do anything else to the general fund, and this particular mechanic is not in the general fund, you're at about just shy of $250,000 surplus for next fiscal year.
Okay, Nuzio, go ahead.
I understand those numbers, Wally, but at the beginning you said that downtown development study may be obsolete. So somewhere during the year we may have to put it back in. So I as far as I'm concerned, I don't even want to count that 100,000.
Okay, then if you want to assume that that might be put back in sometime down the line, then your savings over and above that initial $60,000 surplus is about 70,000 plus the 60. So you'll see next year's surplus revenues over expenditures of about $130,000.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. People are still present. Okay. Brad, you have some numbers for me?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Going through and adding all of the contractual vehicle maintenance numbers, not including community development, as I was advised by Mr. Kramer that those will be mostly transmissions, so we didn't want to throw those in there. The total number that we have in the budget to send out is $37,000. Now, bear in mind, as Alderman Police pointed out, some of those still might be transmissions or body works that an additional mechanic wouldn't be able to do. However, just the raw number is $37,000.
Okay. Now, my question to you is is a vehicle maintenance guy a union position? Okay. Yes. All right. Well, where I'm going to go with this one now, obviously it was approved by Wally to hire the mechanic. There's a lot of controversy here, and obviously we put the supervisor on hold right now. I say we put this person on hold until we see what the union stuff comes up. We could always add it to the budget. John, back up here. How much work is still out? What was the stuff that's still out that we haven't got to?
Our current backlog, we have approximately 5 pieces of snow fighting equipment that is not finished from the last storms. 35 outstanding work orders for the month, this month and last month and previous months, ranging from vehicles to heavy equipment to small pieces of equipment. And preventative maintenance, we have vehicles going all the way back to the September flood that have never been torn apart, and fluids changed, axles, transmissions, rear ends, transfer cases, front ends, etc. So those go all the way back to September that haven't been touched and probably won't be touched until we get all the snow fighting equipment completed.
Well, that will change. Okay. Mr. Nugent?
So if we have so many pieces, how come we didn't send anything out? Or are those pieces that we don't need? Equipment? I mean,
Currently, all those vehicles are functioning. The snow fighting equipment all has trip edges on plow blades that all need to be reworked. They were just fixed temporarily to get us by, but in theory, they need to be torn down, repaired correctly. The preventative maintenance schedules. The vehicles all run fine, but by rights, they should have the fluids all drained, checked, refilled. So yes, they could be sent out, but they don't warrant it in the sense of that they're not certified by staff that they're either broken or contaminated where they need to be done. So it's more visual inspections. That's what a preventative maintenance schedule would allow us to do.
Okay, well then I'm going to reconsider this vehicle maintenance position now. If I got vehicles still sitting out there since September that hasn't even been looked at or fluid's been drained, I say we hired a mechanic then.
Call a vote.
All in favor of leaving the mechanic in place,
You mean hiring another mechanic?
hiring another mechanic?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Oppose?
post.
Leave the mechanic in place right now.
That takes us to the commuter parking lot fund. We only have 2 more, commuter parking and sanitation, and then we're done.
Where is that one at?
And there's not a lot in either of those, the commuter parking lot. We take in money from the daily and monthly fees. We maintain the parking lot. That's pretty much it.
Mr. Nuzio?
I would note that money is still has been rebudgeted for the construction of the new metro station in this fund.
One of the portable toilet service there under equipment rental could probably be taken out once the new train station is up, right?
Right.
Anything else? Out there in that one? Okay, let's go to the last one.
Sanitation fund is next. And again, this is, money in, money out. We collect money from our residents for the sanitation service, and we turn around and we pay our franchisee for the sanitation service.
Any questions on that one? Okay,
I got one question.
Mr. Coles?
BFI is no longer Allied bottom out. Is our contract still continue on with them?
the
Or are
contr-
they gonna come in with a new contract?
The contract expires,
This year.
I'm going
I
to
think.
say next spring.
Next year.
What?
April
April 30th of next year, about a year
April
from now.
30th of next year. All
Right.
They'll be coming in from the next year's budget. We'll have to have an increase in it.
Well,
I think we got it already figured in on the
Gotta go out
water
for
and
bid.
sewer and garbage. I think we have it on our bill. an increase for next year, don't we?
Well, it's got to go out for bid because we're going to change the account possibly.
Well, all right.
But I'm just saying,
I haven't looked at the contract yet. I need to look at the contract to see
Right.
whether there's the possibility for you guys to just
extend it.
And probably sometime this summer, we'll be bringing that back to you, asking you if we can extend, do you want to extend? Or do you want us to go out and bid it all out on another 3-year contract and see what the market's out there? Again, I haven't looked at the contract yet, but if we don't have an extension provision, then we're going to have to rebid.
Right.
If we do have an extension provision, then
We might be able.
that's your call as to whether you want to extend or just bid it back out.
Okay. The other item that I had a note on is that the building department, we never made that perfectly clear which way we were going with those vehicles. Or do we approve those vehicles? Or what did you get out of that?
I think that was left hanging.
So we should address that now to make sure, because
Right.
that's part of our budget process.
Right.
So, the one item that was still outstanding, I had a note from the last time we had the budget, was the 2 new vehicles in the community development department. And fresh me if I
And that was a
mind,
net cost of $18,760.
now that's a state purchase price, right?
Right.
Okay,
That's $32,000 for the 2 vehicles, and we'll back out of that the reduction in fuel usage and maintenance cost and estimated revenue from the sale of those 2. So your net package to fund that is $18,760.
okay. So I really think, my opinion, I think we should purchase those 2 new vehicles. Mr. Newzil?
So these 2 cars are going to replace 2 cars?
Mhm.
Right. So they'll be under warranty, it'd be less maintenance for our new maintenance worker?
Right.
Just out of curiosity. Just out of curiosity.
Okay. Everyone in favor of adding those 2 vehicles? Mayor Johnson?
Just to clarify, so we don't have a problem later, too. I believe Mr. Forrester's recommendation was with the extended warranty for 100,000. I take it you're deleting that from your motion.
I think we were.
Deleting
Extended
the
warranty.
extended warranty.
Is that?
I
It's
I
up
think
to
they were
you.
900 a vehicle or something like that.
I thought about 900 was listed for that.
About 900 vehicle.
Yeah. And they're getting a little 4-cylinder, so it'll be a 4-cylinder engine, so it'll be better mileage and everything
Right,
else.
so
That's all they need,
So we need to eliminate that.
Do that.
4-cylinder. Yeah,
Dan?
sure.
Alderman Sharkey?
I was talking to Alderman Coles just a couple of days ago, and you were talking about those cars, weren't you?
Yes.
And you explained to me the dangers of them and how they're not. You don't
No,
think
that was
they're
on that was on the battery cars.
Oh, okay, thank
That
you.
wasn't on these cars.
Okay.
Those are the battery ones. Okay. So could you roughly Christine Winger?
So are you suggesting to the extended warranty?
No.
I thought you had suggested to take that from the package here.
That's what John Force wanted to do.
I don't have John Forrest's input. I thought he wanted to keep it in.
The 18,760 that's on that pink sheet includes the extended warranty.
Yeah.
If you want to take that extended warranty off, you could drop that by an extra $1,800.
I don't think we should. I mean, he had arguments for keeping it in.
I'd suggest keep it in. It's transmission and engine warranty.
Okay, keep it in then. I mean, keep it in then. All right, so we added 2 new vehicles. Okay. Brad, do you have a calculator out now? What's our, and then we'll narrate what we did tonight. And then hopefully narrate everything.
In real ballpark terms, we started last week, 2 weeks ago, with a surplus of about $60,000. We deleted the downtown study, so you're up to $160,000. You added the diagnostic equipment at 10,000, so you're at 150,000. You added the cars at a round number 19,000, so you're at 131, and you eliminated the street supervisor at an estimated 80,000, so you're at 211,000 surplus in the general fund. You're going to see revenues over expenditures of about $211,000, so you've got yourself a balanced budget plus 211 grand. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. If the council's consensus is we want to wrap it up, then we will publish this in the newspapers. We will make the budget available for inspection, and we'll hold a special meeting on Thursday, the 30th of April, for a public hearing and formal adoption of the budget.
Mayor Johnson,
Back on the extended warranty, sorry. But just as a practical matter, that was to extend it up to 100,000. These vehicles are not being driven home. They're only being driven within the city of Wooddale. Won't they be about 50 years old before we'd ever get to the 100,000?
you know what? You know what? I'm going to leave that up to, let's leave it up to John Forrest and the city manager on that. I mean, if John thinks we need it, John ain't here tonight to answer those questions. And there's only one vehicle going home. So, I mean, you guys hash that out, okay? Mr. Coles.
That budget with $230,000 extra does not have any involvement with the money that's in reserve.
Essentially, that's money that's going to be added to the reserve.
Yeah, there's no.
We're not gonna have to-
We're not touching the reserve money.
You're not
Okay,
touching the reserve money.
That's all I wanted to know.
But that will still give us the option to come back and do whatever. I mean, if we decide to do the downtown study, that we have that cushion down the
I
line.
realize that things are added to the,
Right.
over a period of years, there's always been add this and subtract that and that throughout the year. but-
Also,
If our revenue numbers are on track for next year and our expenditures come in on track, you'll be looking at a reserve of somewhere around $9.5 million on about a $12 million budget, which is, in my opinion, healthy.
okay. I'm going to entertain the motion to approve the 2009-2000 year budget. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And
Thanks for all your hard work on the budget, and thank you guys.
thank everybody that worked on the budget.
Items to be considered future meeting. Anything? Nope. Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you.